OnePlus made a huge splash near the end of 2018 by bringing the updated version of the 6 stateside via T-Mobile. If you weren't paying attention, remember that in a general smartphone climate that finds it hard to accept Chinese origins, OnePlus managed to tear down that wall with their trademark flair. And that is why in 2019 they are one of the companies to really look out for, and there is no better marker of that than their latest phone. Hey, it's Joshua Vergara. What's going on, everybody? And it's time to finally answer the question, who is the OnePlus 6T for? Now, the term enthusiast includes, but is not limited to, OnePlus fanatics. Over the years, the company has done a great job of creating an era of exclusivity with their products. From the early years of the invite system until now, access to OnePlus products has always been a status marker among their fans. Even their current backpack, with all of its trendy quirks and maybe somewhat impractical design, is still sought after by many people. The 6T brings its own trendy streak with a couple of special editions. Aside from the matted and mirror black versions of the phone, there is a striking thunder purple that just looks really dope. But if you need speed, power, and even higher specifications than are maybe totally necessary for most users, you can always opt for the super special McLaren edition. It probably comes as no surprise to you that I've been using the McLaren version of the 6T as my daily driver. And if you have the ability to get this warp charge capable 10 gigabytes of RAM edition, you really won't be disappointed by the speedy and reliable daily experience. But no matter what version you decide to get, the features of the OnePlus 6T are squarely combined for general tech enthusiasts. This in-display reader may not be the fastest sensor out there, but it's something that you won't live without once you get used to it. OnePlus's claims of the sensor learning one's fingerprints over time seems to hold true, especially my secondary fingerprint on my left hand that seems to get faster and faster at unlocking the phone the more I use it, which is not the case in other in-display sensors that tend to prefer my first registered fingerprint most of the time. OnePlus even sweetened the pot by recently adding in a new feature. When unlocking the phone in this manner, you can keep your finger there and a number of shortcuts will appear. It's useful, practical, and perhaps not for everyone who prefers to stick to stock Android. Okay, OnePlus is not necessarily special. It is as guilty as other phone companies for putting in a ton of features on top of existing Android operating systems. Different reading modes, navigation features that include full screen gestures, and even the alert slider can all be considered extras to users who prefer the AOSP experience. But while some may feel this way about Oxygen OS, there is an ever-growing majority of OnePlus users that view things differently. And it's this group of people that I find myself counting myself among. And they actually think that Oxygen OS is one of the best versions of Android you can find, perhaps the kind that Android should be to begin with. OnePlus's software engineers just get a ton of things right. Even the proprietary Slate font across the entire interface makes everything simply look cleaner, even in Android Auto. And transitions from the home screens to apps and back and forth again are quick, smooth, and pleasant. A system-wide dark mode makes everything easy on the eyes, as does the reading mode, a long-running feature I've always enjoyed that makes the full HD Plus display much more like a Kindle screen for reading. And then you have the shelf to the left of the main home screens where it is a safe place to put widgets and most used applications to keep the clutter off of your existing wallpaper. Even the off-screen gesture of a V to turn on the flashlight proves useful at times, as it is traced right on top of one of the best-looking always-on displays you can find in Android today. Honestly, OnePlus deserves a lot of credit for getting Android right. It is not only the version of the operating system that is easiest on the eyes, it is also the smoothest and easiest to use for most users. Now, on the topic of extra features that are practical, OnePlus actually adds in a gaming mode that first does a performance check and toggles a few settings for keeping notifications at bay. It even allows you to take calls using the speakerphone if you don't want to get the phone out of your hands and onto your face. It is helpful when trying to play games on the colorful AMOLED display, which is only interrupted by a teardrop notch which houses the front-facing camera. It might not be strictly a gaming phone, but then again, a lot of top-tier devices can perform that task all the same. The 6T simply manages to put a little bit more thought in than others, enough to keep you focused on crushing it in your game. And as far as crushing it is concerned, the OnePlus 6T does a great job with its battery, despite being of average size compared to the rest of the market. At 3700 mAh, the phone does a great job of getting past the day-and-a-half mark with some attention paid to the battery portion of the settings screen. But the best part of these phones is the fast charging, dubbed warp charging by the time the McLaren edition came out. Non-McLaren versions of the phone still charge up really rapidly, getting the phone over half battery in half an hour. But the McLaren fulfills this commitment to speed by getting that amount in just 20 minutes thanks to powerful 30-watt charging. You have to use the included charger, but let's be fair, it's not like you have to use it for very long. Which finally gets us to the creative portions of this phone and the fact that the video capabilities are not necessarily geared towards the serious videographer. The video isn't really bad when lighting conditions are ideal, which can be said of many smartphones these days, but when the light dims even a little bit, a very noticeable amount of grain appears, especially in the front-facing camera. I tried to record an entire video using the front-facing camera. Granted, I had a wide-angle attachment at the top and I was using an external microphone, but overall the video just showed way too much grain to make the front-facing shooter something that you could use for your typical vlog. Which is a shame because the front lens is actually wider than most of its competitors. Again, the main cameras do a pretty good job given the right amount of due diligence, though I would have preferred a wide-angle lens over the 2x optical zoom. It gets a tighter shot when needed, but of course that kind of zoom is best reserved for portraits. OnePlus's portrait mode has been improved to achieve better cutouts with soft backgrounds. In general, photos can look pretty great on the OnePlus 6T as it has more than decent dynamic range. Plenty of people will enjoy the pictures that come out of this phone, even if it doesn't have the processing power of a phone like the Google Pixel. Colors come out looking accurate without being overly vibrant, and the details are captured properly. But then OnePlus added in its own night mode to help with dark situations, putting the 6T in line with a number of other phones that bring multi-frame, long exposure shooting. OnePlus's version of this mode can be a little temperamental though. If the app does not perceive a need for the long open shutter, then it will simply take the shot more conventionally. So the 6T may not be the most advanced shooter, but it brings good quality and updated features to the average user who is not looking to break the bank on the more expensive alternatives that might have too much going for them. But the thing is that if you have the last version of the phone, all of these enhancements may not make you desire an upgrade. Even then, the teardrop notch is a polarizing new addition, and the fingerprint reader may not excite you. Besides, the Nightscape camera feature is meant to come to Oxygen OS on the OnePlus 6 eventually anyway. If you're still enjoying the OnePlus 6, let us know in the comments and let me know why you would not want to get the OnePlus 6T. But clearly the 6T might be the gateway drug for many current contract users because, as we talked about at the beginning of this video, OnePlus is now on the T-Mobile network. This is a big deal, not just because it makes this one particular company more accessible to people in the US, but it also brings with it the never settle philosophy. Which is why this phone is basically for anyone and possibly everyone. People like myself have had the privilege of enjoying OnePlus products for years now. They may have had their missteps from time to time, but techies have paid close attention to this company for good reason. And now that the 6T can be squarely in your running for the next smartphone contract upgrade, OnePlus may be one of the main companies to look out for in 2019. At sub $600, the OnePlus 6T is already a compelling choice. It is stylish, unique, powerful, speedy, and is more than capable of being the kind of daily driver you never feel like you had to settle for. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this review of the OnePlus 6T, where I asked who is this for? Clearly, this is a phone that's trying to be made available for everyone possible, and I think it actually fulfills much of that promise. It's a great phone that brings some great features, and you don't have to spend so much in order to get those features in other phones that might be priced close to $1,000. And if you're a T-Mobile customer, you can always get onto a contract with it to make it even easier to pay for. Oxygen OS is definitely one of those main highlights, and you might find yourself wishing you had Oxygen OS on other phones if you're testing a bunch of them out and trying to figure out which one you want. But let us know what you choose in the comments down below. If you have a OnePlus 6 and you want to stick with it and not upgrade, let us know about that. If you are on any other phone, let us know what phone you're on, and then you can tell me why you might consider the OnePlus 6T your next phone, even if you're not on T-Mobile. But with that said, I'm going to go ahead and call it on this one. Thank you so much for watching, and look forward to my next video. Until that next video, I would just go ahead and remind you to enjoy your tea, everybody.